Gosh, there's an awful lot to talk about this morning. I mean, let's not worry about the pandemic that's killing, hundreds of thousands of people around the world and could kill millions in some of our poorest countries and has completely decimated our economy. Let's not worry about our children not going to school. I mean, millions of children not getting an education. Why would that bother people? No, let's worry about statues. Let's worry about inanimate stone or bronze objects that have been put there sometimes hundreds and hundreds of years ago that don't perhaps meet our exacting moral values and requirements today. That is one of the major subjects of debate. As Sadiq Khan, the London Mayor, was the first to set up a commission for diversity in the public realm. You think you've read that in a novel by George Orwell? No, that's actually what's happening now. Think it was something set up by Mao Zedong as part of Year Zero? No, it's happening right now. Review of all statues and landmarks across the capital. We're seeing it now across the whole country to ensure they reflect the capital's diversity. I've got a little bit of a message to those people, the people who seem to think that you can somehow rewrite history. You can't unless you have a time machine. It has already happened. Our past does not reflect our diversity now. Our past does not reflect our values now. Why? Because it's the past. And while you're crying out and shouting about how awful this country is, you need to remember how much better it is than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Our past is one, I'm afraid, where whites weren't just the vast majority of the country, they were pretty much everyone in the country. Our past is one based on empire, yes, and the slave trade, and also ending the slave trade. It's a past not just of white people, but white men, not white women, which is why there are barely any statues to women. But that is the past, and we can't change the past, but we can learn from it, and we can celebrate our present, and we can ensure that the future is even better. My issue with the mob moving on to their next statue day by day in the wake of the George Floyd killing by a brutal police officer in America is not the snowflakes who are moving from protest to protest and just frankly enjoying it. I'm sorry, this is virtue signalling at its worst. I don't blame those snowflakes. They've always been snowflakes. They've always thought that sending something on social media made a difference as opposed to actually real life change in the real world. I blame the spineless politicians who have taken a knee and the business leaders and the media who are fearful of taking a stand and say enough is enough. You don't like a statue? Don't look at it, walk on by. We cannot erase this country's past. We should be focusing on our country's present and our country's future. Yes, there is still racism. Yes, there will be instances of police brutality. But if you think the world today is as bad as it was 100 years ago or even 10 years ago, you are living in cloud cuckoo land. And it is time for our politicians to stand up and make that case that yes, the world is not perfect, and it certainly isn't perfect for black and Asian people in this country. It certainly isn't. No one is pretending that it isn't. But we do live in a country where we are getting better and becoming more progressive, more diverse and more open every single day. And this fight and this war on our past is not going to improve anyone's life. You can take down every statue in this country and not a single person's life is going to be better. So it's time for our political leaders to stand up, get off your knees and stand up and do something about the present rather than trying to erase the past.